Okay, we're up to the Gemara and Lamed Hey Amid Aleph. We're discussing the Kohen Gadol's second tefillah before he would change from the Big Day Zav to Big Day Lavan, where he's going to perform the mitzvahs of Yom Kippur. And that took place on the Beis HaParva, the Lishkas Beis HaParva. So the Gemara is trying to ascertain who exactly this is, where it gets its name. So Lamed Hey Amid Aleph, my Parva, what exactly is Parva? So Rabbi Yosef, his Parva is Amgusha. He happens to be an Amgusha. Rashi says, Mechashef, Echad Bana Ushmai Parva. He was a magician. And he went ahead and he built it. And since he built it, they named it after him. I assume that he was Chayze B'tshuva, because usually Kishav carries with its skila. But anyway, he was Chayze B'tshuva, and perhaps it was named after him. A very interesting Tosfos that quotes an Aruch. Says Tosfos, Parva is Amgusha, Pirish Baruch, B'zel Shono, Yesh min hachachamim shomim, ki chafar mechila tachas hakarka b'kodesh. He dug a tunnel underneath the ground in the Kodesh at Sheira Avodas Kohen Gadol, because he wanted to view the avodah of the Kohen Gadol. The Kohanim, they were able to ascertain their tunnels. They felt the tunnel there. They found him. And they called it after him. That's fascinating. Person must have done something right. So therefore, the Beis HaParva was named after this individual. The Mishnah said they would spread a sheet of linen between the Kohen Gadol and the Am, and he would get undressed and go to the mikvah. Ma'ishna shel butz. Why is it mentioning that it was of linen? So Amarav Kahana Kadesh Yakesh Avodas Hayom B'Big Day Butz, in order to recognize that the avodah of Yom Kippur was done solely in Big Day Lavan, which were made from linen and not from a wool or any other. So we saw yesterday that the morning garments were more expensive than the latter garments. So we saw that some was made from Egyptian, and they were 1,200, and the latter ones were 800. And Machlokas was 1,800 or 1,200, total of 30 mana, which is 3,000 zuz. So where do you know that the morning has to be more expensive than the evening? Where do you know that the morning has to be more expensive than the Tamid Shal evening? The Tana, in other words, the more expensive than when he would go in to take out the kaf and the machta from the Kachah Kedoshim. Says, and then it includes 30. The Tana minyana aslash mina. The Tana doesn't waste words. So why in the world doing the simple math for us? You know, he's doing this simple math for us, and this math he could do. Baruch, I'm giving this tonight also again. You know, this is going to be a double. I'm just putting it on. You want to hear it again? Fine. Okay. So the Tana minyana asalash mina. What's it coming to tell us a number? It says mahal kamashmalon. The batsa mahani less than 30 mana, less than 300 zu. But he should not go ahead and spend. If he wants to go ahead, again, as I said yesterday, if he wants to go ahead and balance the amount, let's say instead of spending 18 and 12, he wants to spend 17 or 13 or 16 or 14, he ahani late. Then tafi ahani late, and less number is not a problem. However, the kuliyama mia, the shachar difa, it has to be that what the shachar is more than the afternoon. Where do you know that from? That the lavan in the afternoon has to be more expensive than the lavan one in the morning. Again, he's wearing lavan twice. He's wearing once. He's wearing it when he goes in the morning. He does the main avodah, and secondly, he's wearing it when he goes in to take out the kaf and the machta, to take out the ketores that was in the Kachah Kedoshim. So Rav Huna Breder of Eloi, Amakra, the pasuk says, Umich soinis bad kodesh yilbash, umich say bad yabasaroi, uva avnei bat yachgar, uva nevet spats yitznaif. So you have 4 times it's mentioned the word bad. Soinis bad, michtasei bad, avnei bad, and mitznefes bad. So it says the word bad. It says it 4 times. It says Tosfos, bad 4 times. Nearly, bottom Tosfos. Chad legufei, 1 to tell us that he wears linen in the first place. The chad bad loshen levad, that she'ein loivish imohem big day zahav, kederech shehu oisa kol yimos hashana. All the days, the rest of the days of the year, he wears a big day zahav, what we call, the shmeina begadim. So one bad is to tell me it should be made from linen. The second bad is there to teach me that what livad, play on words, that he only wears that. He doesn't wear anything else. He doesn't wear any big day zahav. And ubad shlishi, and the third one is loima yose toiv mibad shal shayimos hashana. It should be more expensive than the bad that's worn the rest of the year. For Rabbi, and the fourth bad loimar shetoiv mishal arvis, that the morning one should be more expensive than the latter one. So you have a usage of four blad. One, that gufay, it should be bat, it should be of linen. Two, it should be only linen, not zahav. Three, it should be of good quality. And four, it should be more not good quality the rest of the year. And the fourth one, that the morning should be more expensive than the evening. Inami bad shlishi revi medrash hachi bad hamufcha bebad mufcha shebebad, as we're going to see. It says the Gemara amakra bad mufcha bebad. It's the most choices of linen. Mesidei we're going to ask a kasha the love shu begadim acherim. It says in Yecheskel that he's going to wear other begadim lo yikashu es am b'dayim, but he should not go ahead and wear them among the people. So my lab acherim chashuvim mehen does not mean the latter ones are more chashuv than the earlier ones, and we said the early ones are more chashuv than the latter ones. It says maloi acherim is bechusim mehem. Acherim, in fact, why is worse less? Tana Rav Huna bar Yehuda, Vimri Rav Shmuel bar Yehuda. Acha shekolsu avodas tzibur koyin she'asad le'imay k'soinus loivsha of oived ba avodas yachid. After he finished the avodah of the tzibur, he did the avodah of the par and the seir and the ketairis, right? Then he would go ahead and he could wear that avodah tzibur. He could wear the second avodah when he's going to go in. He could wear the thing that his mother had made him. So pshita says the Gemara. Excuse me. He can do avodas yachid. What is avodas yachid? Rashi tells us avodas yachid. Chaitzos kafu machta. Avodas yachid is the removal of the spoon of ketairis and the machta of had the coals on it. Sheinit tzrichel tzibur. It's not necessary for the tzibur for him to remove it. Elul fi shemutelas alav lifnais hamakan. It's a place upon the kohen to go ahead and clean out the place. It's called avodas yachid. In other words, he's the only one who could do it. So it's placed upon him, it seems to be, to go ahead and do it. So the avodas of the tzibur, that has to come from the money of the tzibur. Mashen came the avodah of the yachid, in this case, the removal of the kaf and the machta, that is what can be from the clothing of the mother. However, there's one addendum. It has to be that the mother was magdashit. It has to be klei kodesh. So she has to give it over to the tzibur. So ubolvad, on the condition sheim serenal tzibur, that it's given over to the tzibur. Says going to pshita, that's pashit. So ma'adatema nechesh, I might think shema loyim serenal yafa yafar. Perhaps she won't give it over well, and therefore why it won't be given over. So why would she leave ourselves with the possibility that the void is not good because the clothing wasn't belonging to the tzibur? Amar Lav says no, Kamash Malon, that we're not worried about that. Amar Lav Rabbi Shmuel ben Pabi. Now we met Rabbi Shmuel ben Pabi once upon a time. I think it's the cover of Shmuel. We should go back to Daf Summit Aleph. Daf Summit Aleph. We were discussing the pasuk that said that Years Hashem Toisef Yomim, the Years Hashem Toisef Yomim Zeh Migdash, and Shnois Rishayim Tikitzarena, and the years of the Rishayim they cut off. Years Hashem Toisef Yomim Zeh Migdash Rishayim Shaman Arba Meis Rishayim. It's 410 years. V'Shim Shaboy Ela Yudches Kahanim B'Amachloikas, whether 12 or 18 or 9 Kahanim. And Shnois Rishayim Tikitzarena was a Migdash Sheni. Shaman Dalam Meis Rishayim. It's 420 years. They had more than 300 Kahanim in 420 years, and it's even worse than that. Why? Delete from the 420, the 440 that Shimon HaTzadik worked, and the 80. So from 420, you're taking away 120, which leaves you at 300. And Esa Sheshimish Yishmael ben Pabi, and the 10 that was Mishamish Yishmael ben Pabi. So despite the fact that he was a Kohen that was in the second bias, that it's going out of the way to teach you this was a Kohen Tzaddik Yisrael Olam, that his 10 years did not count it as in the years of the Rishayim. So that's when we met Rabbi Shmuel ben Pabi. So back by us. So what did Rabbi Shmuel? So Amar Lav Rabbi Shmuel ben Pabi, that his mother made for him a ksainus of 100 mana. 100 mana. That's 1,000 zuz. The loifsha. and avoid this yachid, and he wore it, and he did the avoid this yachid. He took out the kaf and the machta, muscle at Siba, and it was given over to. She gave it over to Siba. Elazar ben Charsim, another famous kohen, she'asla imay k'saines mishasei rivui, at 20,000. To wear it. It was such fine material, you can go ahead and see through it. For anyone who mischazik, you possibly see through it. From Amar chutin kafel shisha, that the begadim of the kohen gadol, that was the chutin were tripled 6 times. Kafel, they were doubled 6 times. So the was thick. Rabbi no kichamri b'mazga. It was like wine in a decanter where you can go ahead. It was the decanter of crystal is clear, and you could see through. So too, you could see his body because it was such fantastic. Ben Charsam. Since the Gemara mentioned Elazar ben Charsam, Gemara now goes ahead and it goes off on a tangent. The Gemara now goes ahead and goes off on a tangent. Okay, so we're going to see about Rabbi Elazar ben Charsam. Very, very, very famous Gemara. Tan Rabbanan. Ani va'ashya v'rasha bayin ledin. You have an ani va'asha, a poor man, a rich man, and a rasha, bayin ledin. They're coming to the best in Shamayla, and they're coming to their court case. Amim la'ani. They say to the ani, la'ani amim la'im. Say malo yasakta b'Torah. Why weren't you asking in Torah? So im ama ani hayisi. I was an aram. I was an ani. V'Torah b'mizayisai, and I was busy trying to get my basic sustenance. Amim la'im. We tell the ani. Chol mani hayisi yasim hillel. There was no ani that was poorer than Hillel. What's the raya? Amim alav al Hillel hasakin. They said about Hillel hasakin. Shebechol yom v'yom hayaisa u'mishtaker bitar poyik. He would go ahead and he would work and he'd make a tarpoyik, which is like half a dinar, minimal amount of money. Half they would give to the Shem of the Beis HaMedrash, and half they would give for his parnasa, or parnasa shebeisa, for his basic sustenance. It's interesting to note that there was a Shem to the Beis HaMedrash, that I guess this must be like the Gemara in Chavches in Brachas, where Rabbi Gamliel did not let any Talmidim who didn't feel Toichus Kabaroi. So again, he must have gotten it from somewhere, even though Hill preceded him. But L'chaira, you have to say that there was a shame in the Beis HaMedrash. They didn't let every Talmud in, so he have to pay his way in. It's a little schwer to say that because once they ascertained that the guy is Toichus Kabaroi, wanted to let him in all the time. I don't know why there was a shame to spend money to get into the Beis HaMedrash. I'm not exactly sure. I have to do a little better research. Anyway, he couldn't get into the Beis HaMedrash unless he paid. So what happened? One time, again, you all learned this Gemara when you were little boys. One time he was unable to go ahead and make any money. And the Shem didn't let him in. So Allah, but he went and he was totally suspended himself, literally sitting on top of the aruba, the window. I guess what we call a skylight. That she hear the words of Elokim Chaim, the living God. The Pishmai Vavtalion, because of the Shmai Vavtalion. They said, I say Yom Erev Shabbos, how you that it was Erev Shabbos. With the Kufas Tevis, Hoisa was the Kufas Tevis, it was the winter. The Yordal of Shelig Min Hashemayim, when the Shelig and snow came, and Kashala Amud Shacher, and he got buried in the snow. And when Amud Shacher came, Amulay Shmai Vavtalion, Achi, Chol Yom Habayis Meir. Usually that it's illuminated in here by the time of Elisa Shacher. By Yom Afel, now it's very, very dark. Shema Yom Amuninhu. Maybe there's no sun out. Maybe it's a cloudy day. They picked up their eyes. They saw the form of a man on the skylight. Roim Sholosh Amish Sheleg. They found on top of him three Amish Sheleg, between 5.5 and 6 feet of snow, 4.5 and 6 feet of snow. Parku, they went ahead and they took it off him, and they washed him up. And they went ahead and they put oil on him, and they put him next to a fire to restore his life. So Amru, they said, Shabbos. It's right for this person to go ahead and be Machal Shabbos. Okay, let's just, before we do the next 2 cases of Yosef, Elazar and Chasim, and Yosef. So the Ani has in Shemayim is a Taina. We're going to get to that soon when we finish the Inyan. L'chaira, it's very, very share. Elokim Chayim. In other words, why do we use the words Elokim Chayim? And as you should say, Torah, Roy, right? Kadesh says Hillel, Roy, that she had the words Elikim Chaim. Said that this is the way we're supposed to view Torah. I heard this from Rabbi Levi. This is the way you're supposed to view Torah. Think about it. It's got to be lebedik. It's got to be part of your life. Can you imagine coming to shul, you find it locked? Okay, no. So you go home, you sit in your house, you learn in your house a little bit. Right? That's Torah, but Torah has to go into you. It has to be alive. It has to be part of you. What a beautiful Gemara, a beautiful idea, B'Shas Matan Torah. The greatest day in the history of the world that transpired tonight, that took place tonight, that's taking place tonight. Again, it comes around. We don't go through history. We go through history. It's not history gets away from us. And we're coming back tonight. We should view Torah as Elokim Chaim, something that gives us life. It gives us a whole mahus. That's not something that you can close the door on. Ad Kedei Kach that he was willing to go ahead. Amru Love on this person's right to go ahead and Mechal Shabbos. What about everybody else? Anybody you save a life to Mechal Shabbos, but it's mashma from here not. There's a look in Erevin Chavtes Amid Beis. There's a Hakos Yavitz that seems to say that if a person endangers himself and puts himself in sakana, then it doesn't seem to be a mitzvah in Mechal Shabbos, and that person's a chiddush nifla. But that seems to say, and of course we see from this Gemara that Roy, this person's Roy because he's I guess his Torah. Okay, anyway, that's the Maisa with Hillel. That's what took place with Hillel. Next, what about the Asher? What about the Asher? Says the Gemara. Asher Oimim Lo, Mishnei Malo Yisakti B'Torah, the wealthy person, we say to him, why are you Isaac in Torah? So Imam Asher, how you see? He says, if I was an Asher, why you see? The Torah, how you see, bin Chasai, and I was too busy taking care of all my business interests. Omim Lo, Chum Asher, how you see, Yisem me, Rebbe Elazar. There was no bigger, richer person than Rebbe Elazar and Charsam. Omra Lo Elazar and Charsam, listen to this, guys. Shaniach Lo Oviv, his father left him, Elef Ayarois, B'Yabasha, 1,000 cities on dry land, who connect them elef sfinas bayam, and connected each city there was 1,000 sfinas bayam. V'chol yoyim v'yoyim noitel naud shel kemach al kseifa. Every day, Rabbi Elazar ben Chasim would take a barrel of kemach on his shoulder. Mahalachim ear le'ear l'medina l'medina l'umay Torah. He'd go from place to place to learn Torah. I guess he'd go he'd take his food with him and he'd go to different places, different people. Pamachas matzu avadav in his own city, because it says avadav, his servants found him. But also to Bangaria, they said, listen, you got to work for Elazar ben Chasma. You have to work for yourself. He knows we need you. He's telling Elazar ben Chasma, you have to work for yourself because they didn't recognize him. So Amullah Chaye, Rabbi Elazar ben Chasam, they made a shua in the name of Rabbi Elazar ben Chasam. We're not going to go ahead and do that. You see over here that even with all his possessions and everything, he never bothered going out to see them because the avodim didn't go ahead and recognize them. So again, we answer the Usher and Shemayim. No one was richer than him, and nonetheless, he learned Torah. And what about the Russia? What about the Baltaiva? Russia, I mean, like, him, I know how you see. If he says I'm a handsome guy, if it's Torah be Yitzri, and therefore I was busy with my Yetzirah about women. Amrullah Klum no Yismi Yosef. You weren't any handsomer than Yosef. And Amrullah Yosef at Tzadib Chol Yom V'Yom. I say Eishes Pektifar Mishtad Lasle B'Dvarim. She tried to entice him. The garden Shalav Shalei Shachris, like Lav Shalei Arvis. The garden that she wore in the morning, she didn't wear in the evening. The garden Shalav Shalei Arvis, like Lav Shalei Shachris. The evening clothing she didn't wear in the morning. She constantly changed the clothing to draw Yosef's attention. Amalai, she told Yosef Ishmaeli, listen to me and be mizana with me. Amalai, I'm not going to. Amalai, she said to him, Hareini chavashtecha bebeis asurim, I'll throw you in prison. Amalai, tatsu Hashem matir asurim. He's 17 years old. Hashem matir asurim. Hareini kafefes mascha. He goes, I'll bend you over. I'll break your back. I'll make you work hard. Hashem's like of kafufim. He says Hashem straightens up those who are bent. Hareini mesames enecha. I'll blind you. Hashem b'keach ivrim. Anything she said, he didn't listen to. She said, "Noisly elef kikri kesef. I'll give you elef kikri kesef l'shmoyela l'shachet betzla l'yosima v'leiratzla l'shmoyela." You don't want to listen to her. L'shachet betzla b'olam hazeh. To be returned in this world, l'yosima l'olam haba. To be returned in the next world, mili in Gehenna. So therefore, Nimsa Hillel mechayves taniyim, Elazar mechasam mechayves harishim, and Yosef mechayim es harishayim, and Yosef is mechayim meshayim. Very, very famous Gemara. But this is a very big kasha, guys. It's a very big kasha. This is the olam the kushta. This is the olam emes. In the olam emes, there's no tinus. You get into shemayim, and that's it. There's no tinus. What kind of tinus is there? Because I could have gone ahead if you would have given. I didn't have to work so hard. I didn't have to wear my chosim. I wasn't so handsome. It's no tinus. It's the olam the kushta. Everything's true. Emes is not relative. It's emes is emes. So what's going on over? What's pshat in this gemara? So I heard again from Rabbi Levi many years ago. To a Meister of Itzel with Petterberg. He was Maspid Rabbi, his Rabbi Saul Salanta. Saul Salanta said Rabbi Itzel was Machbid Gomer when it came to what? When it came to Choshen Mishpat. I'm sure he's Machbid everything else, but when it came to the penny, he was so Machbid that Ad Kedei Kach, that Ba'achamei Ves Mishana, when a person gets to Shemayim, right, he won't have to go ahead and pay back a dime. And Rabbi Itzel said the following: what happens when you get to Shemayim? You think it's malachim who are going to go ahead and tell you, mishpat, you had a taiva, you had money, and you didn't pay back, or you forgot about it, you didn't take care of it. You can turn to the malach and say, "You're judging me. Who are you to judge me? You have no taiva. You have no shaykhs to money. You don't know what's going on. You're judging me. You're judging me. Who are you to judge me?" Elamas is a mitzvah. No, they're not going to judge you. It's not going to be it's going to be the tzaddikim that's going to judge you. The tzaddikim that had the same taiva and they overcame it. They were busted for dumb and they didn't steal. And those people, Rabbi Yisrael is going to be able to go ahead and say, I was Machbid Gomer, and there's no taina. So taking that concept, we can go ahead and apply it over here. We can tell a malach can go ahead and tell an ani, malach don't eat. A malach can tell an usher, they have a taiva for money, they have a taiva for women, they don't have a taiva for these things. So who's going to judge them? People who do have a taiva, do have a taiva. And therefore they're going to be tayin. You're going to taina that what? Oh, I was a nani. I was so troubled. I had to work so hard. I was an usher. I had to go ahead and look over my properties. I was so handsome. Like that, the women loved me. Guess what? No one was bigger on the hill. No one was a bigger usher than Rosem and Chassid, and no one was handsomer than Yosef. And nonetheless, they didn't give him. And that's why Yosef was called Yosef Atzadik. Very geshmaka b'shat. Nice meister to explain something. Okay. For like Eitzel Paroi. Okay, I guess we'll stop over here.